This is a Nailsin News Bulletin. Texas mom of 3 accused of helping husband run prostitution ring catering to cops out of their family home. So they figured, hey, as long as we're good with the police, they'll leave us alone, yeah? So anyway, a Texas mom of 3 who pled her innocence when her hubby was arrested for allegedly running a prostitution ring frequented by local cops is now accused of coaching women to sell their bodies out of the couple's home. Ashley Catcherside was arrested on racketeering charges after her alleged involvement in her husband's purported prostitution enterprise was originally overlooked when he was arrested on April 8th. But a wide-ranging investigation revealed she has 2 prior prostitution convictions herself. So she's a pro at this, and allegedly offered her X-rated services for $1,000 an hour. Well, yeah, she does kind of look like a model, I guess. So there's the husband. I just wanted to make some money, okay? Ashley and Michael Catcherside allegedly hosted members of the Godly Police Department and their spouses at their home, where they ran the ring for at least a decade. During the gatherings, Ashley could be found preparing another woman for prostitution. Was it the wives? But when Michael was apprehended, Ashley told Fox 4 she was blindsided by the investigation and maintained her family's innocence. Why? Yeah, honey, you're going to have to take the fall, okay? I mean, someone's got to stay with the kids. Yeah, I understand. Michael is a great husband, an amazing father to my 3 kids, and I believe in the justice system, she said. She flatly denied all accusations, including rumors that ex-godly cop Solomon Omatoya paid her for sex, but added that she thinks 2 consenting adults should be allowed to do whatever it is they want to do. So you had sex with the cop. Oh, okay. Yeah, you're really into the whole thing, as evidenced by pictures you love to take of yourself. Anyway, she also rejected suggestions that she may be a prostitute herself. She is, despite her 2 previous convictions. When Omatoya was nabbed alongside Michael, what they were together, he led investigators to former Godly Police Chief, oh no, Matthew Cantrell, who revealed that Ashley charged $1,000 an hour for sex with her. Those same rates were repeated in messages on Ashley's seized burner phone. Omatoya and Cantrell were also facing charges in connection with the sex ring. There's the police chief in his mugshot. Outside of the ring, the group also are being probed for corruption. The Catchersides and Cantrell allegedly amassed information on their adversaries, including members of the Godly City Council, the Godly ISD School Board, and other godly police officers, according to a news release from the District Attorney's Office for Johnson and Somerville counties. In 2023, Ashley was ousted from a Godly ISD committee that dictated the district's sex education curriculum when members were made aware of her prior prostitution convictions. Boy, they're never going to let that go, huh? Ashley also had active advertisements on escort websites while she was volunteering with other city organizations. Lady, come on. Well, Ashley was charged with racketeering and is being held on $200,000 bond. Michael was charged with continuous promotion, solicitation of prostitution, and racketeering. He's being held on a $450,000 bond. Hey, he gets more than her. Well, whatever. Cantrell was charged with promotion of prostitution and is out on bond. Omatoya was charged with soliciting prostitution. Yeah. Well, there you go. Yeah. Well, was she worth it? I mean, now it's more than just $1,000, you know? So, well, but what? I know. I didn't. She's on an escort. It's like, what? Come on. Oh, well, there you go. That's the family business. And they seem to be enjoying the family business, so it was working out for them. But they got caught, and so, And of course, I get maybe the plan was always, look, I'll take the fall, honey, so you can be with the kids, you know? So, you know, there's something there. And so maybe that was the deal going forward. But the police like, wait a minute. So anyway, in the burner phone, you're supposed to get rid of that, stupid. So
this has been a Nailsin News Bulletin.
Time now for commentary from Trick.
Creeps and weirdos getting all creepy and weird. Sluts selling butts, them buttholes done been sold. Dogs breeding like bugs, rabbits are coat hangers. Killers killing and killing and killing. Nailsin News. 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 Where'd all the money go? Ain't nobody gonna know. Do you trust your meat to take a walk down the street? While killers be killing and killing and killing. Nailsin News. 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 Where'd all the money go? Ain't nobody gonna know. Do you trust your meat to take a walk down the street while killers be killing and killing and killing? Nailsin News. 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 News.
Ooh, and there, like magic, I appear. Yeah. Now, the stupid thing is I played that theme song. Now, look, I'm going to do some Nailsin News stories. This is true. This is true. So it's not like I'm lying to you. But this is one of those shows where I combine mostly Nailsin News with Nailsin Ratings. And then, yeah, that's about it, really. Time permitting, I might draw a picture or two. But anyway, so yeah, boy, the stories keep coming, and I was looking, well, this one could, yeah, that one, oh, geez, oh, well, there's a few other little details, since I did these videos to have them available to put out on the channel while I'm occupied elsewhere. A couple of them, it's already going to be old news. But then again, it's my commentary on said news, so that makes it special all around, and I think who could disagree? Yeah. But the other thing is on occasion, I have a little segment I call Perhaps, but maybe not. And that's all the weird stories, UFOs and ghosts and, that kind of thing. And, of course, this story about all these scientists disappearing and or dying that seem to have connections to the UFO story. So quite a few of those. It keeps happening. Some of them, it's like, it's pretty self-explanatory. Others, I don't know. But the thing of it is, the timeline, and like it's all very close. So that's that's strange. Even though there's a couple of names they threw in, and the guy's been dead a while, but that kind of thing. But anyway, so there's a particular story. Some guy says he's got some goods on it or whatever. So I'll do that little segment. It's only one. I've done this before where I had a couple of them. And then the audio version will be a part of the Mr. Nailsin Show. Mr. Nailsin Show started out where I just did segment. Nailsin News came out of that, where there were sort of podcasts within the podcast. Yeah. It used to be I'd do a week in review of political news. Oh, I got sick of that eventually, and I haven't done it in a very long time. Will it ever come back? I don't know. But so that's one of the segments is perhaps, but maybe not. So I'd throw that in there. Nailsin News would be in there. And then, of course, the audio plays, Night, and the like. And that was it. That was the show. Nailsin Ratings, for the most part. Every now and then I would do a review of certain shows. So I did a lot of Space 1999 reviews. So after that, I've started, I need to catch up on that, the UFO show. That was like a precursor to the Space 1999 show. Same producers and some of the same sets, apparently, and all that sort of thing. But anyway, so that'll be something that I guess technically fits in with Nailsin Ratings type stuff on there. As far as doing it live on the video, I don't know. I suppose I could, and review one of those shows in a live stream, and then save the audio for the podcast. Could do that. So yeah, perhaps maybe not. It's one of those. Then Bayou Crime Report, which basically is Nailsin News. I just do the Red Nickerton persona to host it, but it's only crimes in Louisiana. So that's one of those. Lefty Turdington, my other imaginary co-host, would do his little commentary. But since I dropped out of the political stuff, he kind of became irrelevant. But it's still a gag that could work. I suppose I could bring it back at some point. But anyway, that's how that goes. So first story up will be this strange story about scientists dying and all that. And who knows what it all means? Lord knows I don't. But I suspect some of these, well, they just died. It does happen. Sadly, it will happen to all of us. And it's not a pleasant thought. Most certainly is not. But, it's going to happen. Of course, I don't know jack squat about these UFOs, so there's no reason to come get me. Now, some of these people just disappeared. That's another weird angle. But then again, it could just be you just never found the body and all that sort of stuff. But were they perhaps abducted by aliens? Perhaps. But maybe not. So anyway, I got my little segment here, don't I? I thought I did. Yeah, there it is. All right, I'll play that, and then we'll get into the story. Yeah. Yes, we shall. Is it going to? Boy, it sounds really creepy, doesn't it? I mean, it's really weird. I'm kind of proud of it, maybe a little too proud. But, well, it didn't need to go this long. Basically, it's just a bunch of weird clouds, but it almost looks like teeth, you know? Yeah, it's almost kind of scary. But I suppose for a UFO story, it should pick one that has stars or something in it. That might work. Anyway, that's my voice making all those noises. Weird, huh? Yeah, pretty impressive, I think. Yeah. Oh, yeah, the normal introduction would be, are the deaths and disappearances of several scientists, their lab assistants, and even a general connected to UFOs? Perhaps, but maybe not. Yeah, see? That's how that works. Trove of leaked documents prove U.S. lab where missing scientists worked was studying UFOs, as per a new documentary. So a trove of documents from the now dead cybersecurity chief of Los Alamos National Laboratory, where 2 of the 11 missing or dead U.S. scientists' work purport to show that the U.S. government secretly conducted UFO-related experiments for decades. Reporter Jeremy Corbell claims in the upcoming flick, Sleeping Dog, that he received the valuable classified documents from the son of the deceased ex-cybersecurity chief at the highly secretive New Mexico lab. Throughout my work as a journalist, I have become a central clearinghouse for sensitive, unidentified aerial phenomena material in my reporting, Corbell said. It is now routine for families of deceased insiders to contact me with hidden documents their loved ones left behind. This kid, after his dad passed away, starts going through his effects and realizes, oh, this is some heavy stuff, Corbell said in the documentary, which was previewed by the New York Post. I start noticing I know some of the names. I know some of the scientists personally. They've never told me that they did these studies on UFOs. The identities of the lab chief, his son, and the scientist are withheld in the documentary for safety concerns. The film is slated for release May 17th. The out-of-this-world leak contains internal memos, drawings, and Polaroids, according to Corbell. These documents provide absolute confirmation that the U.S. government has maintained a secret, decades-long program to uncover the intent and origins of those piloting UFOs. One document shows the agenda of a high-level, all-day meeting on April 24th, 1991 at Los Alamos, where representatives from the Central Intelligence Agency, National Security Administration, Navy, and Army met to discuss the investigation into atmospheric anomalies. The discussion included the 1987 Gulf Breeze UFO incident in Florida and the Belgian UFO wave in 1989, the document lays out. Title of the document is literally Agenda. Anyway, other issues addressed in the meeting were Soviet offerings, the development of sensors, and how to interface with the civilian sector, i.e., universities such as MIT and Stanford. The highly secretive Los Alamos National Lab, founded by father of the atom bomb Robert Oppenheimer, has had 2 former employees vanish without a trace within the last year. Retired engineer Anthony Chavez was last seen in May 2025 when he disappeared while going for a walk. The 78-year-old left both his wallet and keys at home, and his body has not been found despite weeks of searching. Melissa Casillas, 39, worked as an administrative assistant at the lab and disappeared in June 2025 after dropping lunch off for her daughter. Casillas, whose husband also works at Los Alamos, was last seen on surveillance footage walking along a highway alone. Both Casillas' home phone and work phone were reset to factory setting and left at her home, according to authorities. Missing Air Force General William McCaslin, who was a gatekeeper, a gatekeeper on the UFO subject, had indirect ties with Los Alamos National Laboratory due to his oversight of nuclear research programs which are conducted at the lab. President Trump acknowledged the troubling trend of missing U.S. scientists on April 16th, saying to reporters from the South Lawn, "I hope it's random. Some of them were very important people, and we're going to look at it over the next short period." So, is all of this connected to UFOs, alien technology, and possible interstellar threats to not only the United States, but perhaps the entire world? Perhaps, but maybe not. And that's it. Yeah, I mean. So anyway, I guess the saga continues. Eventually, they're bound to find one of these bodies, you know. I seem to recall there was another story of one of these people who was worked at Los Alamos, or did for a time or what have you, went on a hiking trip with some other people. And I don't know, they turned around and the lady was gone. And they never found her. No one's ever saw her again. So you could conclude she fell off a cliff or something, and they didn't find the body, you know, but just didn't hear anything. But awfully curious. So, what you gonna do? What you gonna do? Well, we're gonna get all suspicious and, you know, paranoid and all that. But of course, it's not just paranoia when they're actually out to get you. Yeah. Yeah, Nodax here making up a good point. Nancy Guthrie was one of the scientists? Not to my knowledge. So, you see, people do disappear. Now, in her case, well, you've got people claiming responsibility for it, kidnappers and all that. None of the aliens or CIA people ever come, yeah, it was us. You know, yeah, that's not happening. So in her case, I'm going to go with the kidnappers and that. And it's not looking that good on that story, like it's going to have a happy ending or whatever, you know. But yes, it is true people do disappear and meet with foul play. But not because there's secret knowledge about aliens and spaceships and, you know, all that stuff. But it is curious, isn't it? Is there a pattern? Is there a connection? Well, the only connection appears to be, you know, like Los Alamos and UFOs. So, you tell me. I don't know. But anyway, it's curious and all that good stuff. But meanwhile, there's other news to be had, and it must be reported, and there must be commentary and analysis, which I, your host, will provide. Woman said she shot boyfriend in the back of the head like Doc Holliday, then claimed it was accidental. I don't think Doc Holliday ever shot anybody accidentally. And I don't know if he shot him in the back of the head. I think she's confusing that with how Jesse James died. Yeah, because Doc Holliday died from tuberculosis, I believe. But yeah, Jesse James got shot in the back of the head by one of his guys who, you know, was too cowardly to face him face to face, you know, in a like Gunsmoke, you know. But anyway, a 44-year-old woman in Michigan is accused of killing her boyfriend, allegedly admitting to shooting the 52-year-old in the back of the head like Doc Holliday as he exited their bedroom following an argument. Jennifer Dana Moore was taken into custody and charged with one count of open murder in the slaying of Joseph Wayne Worley. The fatal shooting took place late on the night of April 22nd. At the couple's home on East Baseline Road near 36th Street in Cheshire Township, which is about 150 miles west of Detroit. According to a probable cause affidavit, Moore called 911 shortly after 10 p.m. and told a dispatcher, "I just shot my boyfriend." Deputies with the Allegan County Sheriff's Office responded to the residence, where they saw Moore waiting on the front porch before going back into the home. Inside, first responders found Worley suffering from a single gunshot wound to the head. He was pronounced dead at the scene. Moore was very emotional and crying hysterically, stating to deputies that "I shot him and I killed him." Officers on the scene could see a subject's feet on the ground through a window as she was standing over him. Authorities ordered Moore out of the residence and took her into custody before entering and locating Worley inside with a single gunshot wound to the back of his head. Investigators said the shooting followed an argument after the couple returned home from dinner in Paw Paw. Moore told detectives she made a comment that upset Worley, who then locked himself in a bedroom. When he came out, she grabbed a revolver that was in the room. Moore admitted to pointing the gun at the back of Worley while he was walking to the kitchen. Moore then simulated with her hand as a gun, as a gun at... This writing is terrible. As a gun in shooting motion. Moore described the hand motion like Doc Holliday as she simulated a gunshot. Moore said the revolver went off because there was no safety and she didn't intend to shoot Worley. I mean, if you were trying to scare him or threaten him or something, but he doesn't see this, his back is turned to you, so he doesn't know you're doing this. So, yeah, I'm not buying this story. Investigators also noted a bullet hole in a bedroom television supporting the account that the firearm discharged inside the room. Well, yes. I mean, you've got a guy on the floor with a bullet hole in his head in the house. So, anyway, neighbors told Wood, I guess that's the local affiliate, WOOD. The couple had only recently moved into the rental home, so they're going to make, hey, look, these people aren't like the rest of us. They're newcomers. Moore appeared via video in Allegan County's 57th District Court for her arraignment, where a magistrate ordered her to remain in custody without bond after prosecutors argued she posed a significant flight risk and danger to herself and the community. Well, there you go. And that's probably a good guess because I'm not buying this accidentally shot him crap. You know, I understand you're not thinking straight because, you know, you're mad the two of you were fighting and all that crap. And, oh no, the gun went off. Oh, jeez, I was just so pissed and I was just going to brandish it and stuff. Yeah, I don't think so. I don't. I think you were so mad you murdered him. Because again, by your own admission, he's going into the kitchen. And he's not, you know, he has no idea you're pointing a gun at him. So how's that supposed to scare him? Unless, I suppose, you're saying like, oh, I was waiting for him to turn around. so I could, you pissed me off and whatever. I don't, what was the plan here? But, oh no, it accidentally went out before he did. Is that the deal? Is that how it worked out? Yeah. Not buying that one. Not buying it at all. You miserable bitch. But of course, innocent till proven guilty. Yeah. That's it for her, But must relationships end like that? I mean, I would say no, but they sure do, don't they? Oh my goodness. Hey, would counseling help? Would something like that? Maybe just break up. That is an option, Doesn't say anything about kids. It says boyfriend, so they're not even married. Just leave, Woman killed boyfriend with souped up golf cart. Left him alone outside overnight. Lied about brakes not working. So I guess that was her story. I was in my golf cart and, oh no, the brakes didn't work. Well, I didn't know what to do about him after I ran him over, so I went to bed. Yeah, I don't think so. Anyway, a 59-year-old woman in Texas is accused of killing her live-in boyfriend, allegedly striking him with a souped-up golf cart during an argument, then leaving him alone overnight in front of his house instead of seeking medical assistance. Lisa Ann Gooder was taken into custody and charged with one count of murder in the slaying of 79-year-old Gene Donald Caping. Deputies with the Wood County Sheriff's Office responded to a residence in Quitman, that's Quitman, Texas, regarding an unresponsive man, later identified as Caping. Upon arriving, first responders located Caping lying on the ground in front of his house after suffering severe injuries. He was transported to a local hospital for treatment, where he remained for about 4 days before succumbing to his injuries. In an interview with investigators, Gooder allegedly said the couple had been drinking when she hit Caping while driving what she described as a souped-up golf cart that was traveling about 15 miles per hour. She claimed it appeared as though Caping hydroplaned away from the vehicle before landing near some large rocks. Gooder said she and Caping began arguing after the impact, and Caping walked a short distance before lying down in the driveway. Sure. Gooder claimed Caping told her not to call for help, so she left him there through the night without seeking medical attention. She reportedly did not check on him for about 12 hours, which is when she found him still outside and unresponsive. Authorities said Gooder initially claimed the golf cart's brakes were not working, but investigators soon discovered the vehicle's brakes were functional. Additionally, detectives said Gooder drove the golf cart in loops in the driveway before she struck Caping, emphasizing that she would have been very aware of where he was at the time of the collision. The investigation also allegedly uncovered troubling details about the couple's relationship. Well, during a search of the home, deputies reportedly found a handwritten note from Gooder that read, "Why let him be there? Why not shoot him?" Well, people, make notes and stuff. Anyway, Caping's sister spoke to authorities, reportedly describing Gooder as controlling, mean, and evil, particularly when she drinks. The affidavit also recounted a prior domestic violence incident in which Gooder allegedly attacked Caping with a knife. So, Talk about your warning sign. But anyway, Gooter is being held in the Wood County Jail on a $1 million bond based on the upgraded murder charge. Yeah. Somehow I'm thinking the sister's right. I mean, some amount of controlling that fits in too, because the guy stayed with her for some reason. So she really had quite the hold on him, you know. He just couldn't just get the hell out of there. And of course, mean. I mean, look what she did, and she's leaving around notes. Why not just shoot him? You know, that's her attitude about her beloved. And ultimately evil. So yeah, I'm with the sister on this one. I think that's pretty solid. Yeah. Pretty sure. Oh well. Souped up golf cart. I wonder what the souped up part was. You know, was that something he did? You know, and he said, hey, wouldn't it be cool if the golf cart could go faster than normal? And maybe he did, and little did he know that he was crafting the instrument of his own murder. But, you know, life has its ironies like that. And it's sad, but also terribly frightening. St. Ranger's here. Hi, St. Ranger says most revolvers do not have a safety. Yeah, she says, oh, I didn't know that. Yeah. Joe Lamont, Sama Hail, written by some Gen Z loser. Doc died in bed from TB and noted it was ironic as he expected to go out by a bullet. Yeah. So, I mean, now, Gen Z loser, I mean, that's what the suspect here, if they said she claimed that she kept saying, I took him out like Doc Holliday. And it was like, yeah. Anyway, St. Ranger, I have not shot a gun accidentally, even way I mean either. In over 60 years of shooting, right. I mean, look, you all know the safety rules and stuff. Don't ever point it at anybody. That's, you know, the basics and all that sort of stuff. I got to craft a story here. And that's the best she could do, you know. I mean, yeah, you shoot somebody, especially in the back. It's like, nah, you just committed murder. There's no accident about it, you know. I mean, unless you were fooling around with it and it went off and it goes, you're in a room and it goes through the door or the wall or whatever and hits the other guy outside. You didn't know where he was and it hits him and kills him. Then I guess you can go, I'm an idiot, you know, granted, I'm guilty of that, but here, now you just got so pissed off for the argument and what have you, and in blind rage, crime of passion, I suppose. You shot him in the back of the head. You evil bitch. St. Ranger, this is one way to get rid of an unnecessary, unwanted boyfriend. Well, apparently that's what the thinking was. St. Ranger hydroplaning, flying through the air. Yeah, I guess so. Wow, what a weird thing. And then she kills him. He achieved human flight. Anyways, St. Ranger says, supposedly saying don't call for help. Call for help now. Yeah, she misunderstood. They'd been drinking. You know how it goes. St. Ranger, she was writing a play called Why Not Shoot Him? Could be. You know, she's always fancied herself a writer, but, you know, life made other plans. And but now she's thinking, maybe let's take another crack at it. My play. Why not shoot him? Mere coincidence that, and she didn't shoot him, she ran him over with a golf cart. So, see, maybe they can get that ruled out in evidence for the trial, you know. St. Ranger, I was being funny with the revolvers and safety. I knew you knew. Well, it's perfectly fine. The main safety is you know. You must be responsible with weapons. And this would include golf carts. So, that's too bad. You know, again, another relationship ends in such a terrible manner. And it doesn't have to be that way. We all know this. And I dare say even these people knew it. And yet, well, that brief moment of rage, I guess. Who the hell knows? Anyway, juror found a man guilty of fatal stabbing, then went out and stabbed people a few days later. Holy crap, what a weird twist of events. So you got to understand, one stabber, you know, was convicted in trial, and one of the jurors that convicted him after the trial was over decided, hey, that sounds cool. So he went out and stabbed some people himself. You know, weird, huh? Well, let's see what happened. A convicted killer in Washington State is sounding alarm bells about one of the jurors who decided his case earlier this month. Kevin Rodriguez, 35, was recently found guilty by a jury of his peers in Snohomish County on one count of murder in the second degree over the death of 56-year-old Evodio, Garcia Martinez. Jurors also found Rodriguez guilty on 2 counts of assault for attacking 2 other men. In each instance, the defendant used butcher knives. Now, he says, one member of the jury has displayed a habit of attacking people with knives, and Rodriguez argues this means he needs a new trial. Rodriguez was previously found guilty of manslaughter over the incident in 2021, but appealed and eventually received a new trial in which he represented himself. Oh, dummy. On April 10th, the defendant was convicted for the second time. You don't say. The underlying incident occurred the night of February 9th, 2019, at an apartment in Monroe, a medium-sized city located roughly 30 miles northwest of Seattle and part of the broader metro area. Garcia Martinez was asleep on the couch when he was stabbed to death. When his friends returned home from a night out at the casino, they found Rodriguez standing in the dark wielding 2 butcher knives. Well, a skirmish ensued, and 2 of the roommates were slashed and stabbed before Rodriguez was subdued with copper wire. Wow. I heard him, the killer repeated to police. Fast forward through all the court proceedings, the years-long appeal process, the firing of all legal counsel, and the pro-se defense. Now Rodriguez says he deserves trial number 3. On April 13th, 2 people were stabbed at a town home in South Everett by a 20-year-old man who reportedly suffers from schizophrenia. The recent incident occurred at a residence near 112th Street, Southwest, and South Route 99. On the night in question, Connor Wolobin, sure we'll go with that, forced his way inside and began stabbing people. The man was reportedly known by at least some of the residents. Eventually, a 22-year-old woman at the residence put Wolobin into a chokehold until deputies arrived. Wow, it's quite some gal. Absolutely courageous of the 22-year-old, Snohomish County Sheriff's Office spokesperson Courtney O'Keefe said. Her actions potentially saved the lives of her family members and herself. Wolobin was arrested on suspicion of 1 count of burglary and 2 counts of first-degree assault. Earlier this month, a judge set the South Everett man bail at $500,000. He is still detained as of this writing. Wolobin is also reportedly juror 14 for Rodriguez's latest trial. The defense claims the South Everett stabber told the victims he was sent by Jesus and was the right hand of Jesus during the incident. I don't recall Jesus ever using butcher knives in anything. Well, anyway, the new trial motion cites juror misconduct, as well as a myriad objections to elements of the trial, including witness and defense testimony, and other non-trial proceedings in the case. As for Juror 14, the new trial motion is requesting an evidentiary hearing to investigate his mental state during trial and deliberation. I don't think this helps out Rodriguez at all. I mean, for a second there, with the headline and whatnot, I thought, hey, is he going to claim he was set up by this guy? I mean, he's the real stabber, not me. But the only thing here would be that, hey, this guy was nuts. So you had a juror on there who wasn't altogether there, and he's hearing voices or whatever and claiming Jesus is sending him on a murder spree or what have you, and all that. But, of course, this is after the case. I suppose on his mental status, maybe, wow, but, I mean, he's going to be found guilty again. I mean, he's got multiple witnesses and surviving victims who had to battle with him. I mean, you got nothing, you idiot. And it's just this weird circumstance. And so this guy who's got mental problems goes in there, ends up being a juror on a trial involving murder with a guy who stabs people to death. It got stuck in his head. And in his own weird, warped way, worked its way into him acting out due to his condition. And so that's basically all there is to it. Just on alone, I mean, something like that, unless you really show off, clear signs of your mental problems or instability, how is the court supposed to vet that? If he's just basically answering their questions, he's sitting there, he's behaved, he showed up for jury duty, they're like, good enough, then that's probably the deal, Joe Lamont, so she killed him and they're surprised she didn't seek medical help. Yeah, well, they can add that to the charges. All right, you ran him over, you were stupid and pissed off and drunk, but you got to call for an ambulance, stupid. And she didn't, so they can slap that on there, Joe Lamont continues, pretty affluent tortilla flats guys who just happen to have a bunch of copper wire laying around. Yes. I wonder if they looked into that, Hey, look, we had this to subdue this idiot. Oh, man. But thank God for copper wire. Thank God indeed. For them. Man used 3D printed gun and silencer in highway shooting as part of murder for hire attack on wrong victim. Whoops. Yeah. 2 men in Texas will be spending the rest of their lives behind bars after a murder for hire plot targeted the wrong man. Now, to be clear, even if they'd gotten the right man, it's still, you'd be facing the sentence. Anyway, Ricardo Obando Jr., 52, who hails from Houston, and Michael Siri, 43, who hails from Katy, a suburb of Houston, were convicted on various counts against them over the plot that seriously injured an unidentified man who was on his way to work. Obando was convicted of 2 counts related to the murder for hire conspiracy and 3 weapons charges. Siri was convicted of those same counts, plus 2 additional counts of being a felon in possession of a firearm. See, he should have known better than that. U.S. District Judge David Hittner sentenced both defendants to life in prison. I mean, come on, you're Texas. No death penalty? Come on. Anyway, the court also sentenced each man to varying amounts of additional time behind bars, which were assessed to run consecutively, meaning in addition to their life sentences. So even after they're dead, they still got to serve time, The underlying incident occurred due to Siri's suspicions that his wife had been unfaithful to him while he was in prison. Oh. So Siri contracted Obando for the killing job. After months of planning, the violence culminated in on the morning of February 4th, 2025, along Highway 99. Obando fired several shots into the unsuspecting victim's vehicle. The man suffered gunshot wounds to his neck, torso, and one hand, but somehow survived. Oh, I thought he didn't make it. So maybe that's why they skirted the death penalty. Video from inside the victim's in-car camera recorded the harrowing moments the shots rang out and the ensuing 911 call. Obando used a 3D printed gun and a silencer during the attack. An innocent victim was ambushed by gunfire during his daily commute, all because of one man's jealousy and faulty information, said U.S. Attorney Nicholas J. Ganjai. As it turned out, Siri got the intended victim all wrong because the actual target had recently moved to another address. Oops, well, these things happen. During the trial, federal prosecutors showed jurors cell phone evidence demonstrating Obando's extensive surveillance on the victim, as well as an earlier failed attempt on the man's life. So he was stalking the guy, but then the guy moved and he didn't notice that, and this other guy, I guess, moved into that place and then was driving to work. Did he have a similar vehicle? The jury also had time to consider a considerably delayed reaction. During the trial, Siri's wife testified that the affair the man was upset about had occurred some 12 years ago. Yeah, get over it already. Besides, isn't she the one that took the vows, not this other guy? Anyway, testimony revealed that even in January 2025, a few weeks before the murder attempt, Siri was angry about the affair. Evidence included multiple photos of various firearms and firearm parts found at Siri's home and storage unit. The jury also saw the 3D printer Siri used to manufacture the weapon and silencer that Obando is believed to have used. During the trial, law enforcement testified that Siri paid Obando through his business to mask the nature of the payments for the hit. Still, the trial was not a clean sweep for the state. Jurors acquitted a third man, Matthew Rosas, 25, who was allegedly driving the vehicle when the shooting occurred. Oh, yeah. This was a very unique case and a great example of how local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies work together to solve what was originally thought to be a road rage incident, but turned out to be a highly planned assassination attempt on the wrong person. Jason Hudson, the special agent in charge of the Houston FBI, said. Well, there you go. Two morons, some idiot who can't get over his cheating wife. I mean, what are the odds that she's cheating with some other guy? You know, she said, hey, that was 12 years ago. You're still mad about that? Boy, have I got news for you. You know. And now look at you. Shot up some other guy who thankfully survived, you know. But holy crap. You see, this is why you just can't take justice into your own hands, you know. And really, now I'm not suggesting he shoot his wife or hire anybody else to do it, but I mean, it's like, good Lord, you know. But whatever, they're where they belong. Good riddance. Joe Lamont's on highways are notoriously noisy. Why use a silencer? Yeah, I know. I don't get that. I mean, I guess, you know, maybe they were thinking, oh, we're going to sneak up on him somewhere, take him out that way. But so they had the silencer made, you know, but then he's like, Why don't we just shoot him while he's driving? So he did. Yeah, they're not bright. You know, they're, Nodak strumming on the old bando. Yeah, Nodak, great. Now I have working on the railroad stuck in my head. Yeah, well, there's always a consequence, you know, to everything. Now, maybe this is just a sad story. I've seen one similar to this, and it was just kind of sad. Well, I mean, they're always sad in some respects, but, well, let's see. Pennsylvania man allegedly lived with wife's corpse for over a month. Used shovel to move her body around the house. Well, a 68-year-old man is behind bars after allegedly not reporting his wife's death for over a month. Officers responded to a home after getting a request to perform a welfare check. Officers made contact with Michael McCullough, who told them that his wife, 66-year-old Charlene McCullough, wasn't at home. Authorities entered the home and found the body of Charlene McCullough on the floor of a bedroom. She was reportedly in an advanced state of decomposition. Officers said the home smelled like death and that there were flies present. Ugh. And you know what happens after the flies show up. Anyway, charging documents obtained by WHP TV alleged that McCullough told authorities that his wife died about a month prior and that he moved her remains throughout the house using a shovel. This is one of those like big scoop shovels, I guess, maybe, unless his wife's really petite, you know. Anyway, during an interview with one of Charlene McCullough's family members, investigators learned that multiple requests for welfare checks were made, most recently in February. She had a history of mental health issues and had spent time in an inpatient facility. After a March 2025 welfare check found her to be malnourished. In the interview, the relative also alleged that McCullough, who had power of attorney over his wife, was verbally abusive. Lebtown reports, whatever that is, that according to the Lebanon County District Attorney's Office, there is no evidence to indicate that Michael McCullough sought medical treatment for Charlene, nor did he attempt to notify authorities of her passing. Well, yeah, that's obvious. Anyway, McCullough was charged April 17th with neglect of a care-dependent person, abuse of corpse. You mean the shovel. Recklessly endangering another person, obstructing administration of law or other governmental function, and tampering with evidence. Due to Charlene McCullough's advanced state of decomposition at the time she was discovered, her cause and manner of death will be difficult to determine. During the autopsy, Charlene McCullough was found to have multiple fractures throughout her body in various stages of healing. She also had lost 100 pounds over the course of a year and suffered from depression. The autopsy showed this? I think you just mean her medical records. She had spent time in a behavioral health hospital for these concerns. Well, there you go. All right. She stayed there for 51 days during May 2025. Well, McCullough's behind bars in lieu of $100,000 bail, and I guess the investigation is ongoing. But could it be that, he's in his own way just as messed up as she was, and then, she died. I mean, unless they could determine that they said that, it looks like there's evidence of injury and whatnot, so did he beat her to death? That's possible. Well, the other aspect is that maybe she did herself in, or she just died, from being malnourished and whatnot. And then he's like, "Oh, what do I do, Charlene?" I don't know. It could be something like that. There was a similar story, and that was the deal. They never did find any evidence of foul play or anything. The old guy just couldn't let her go while she rotted in the bed. So, could be similar, although, there's evidence of some amount of injury. But of course, yeah, I'm assuming they're able to detail that this was injuries that happened to her while she was alive. So, plus, they're saying it shows signs of healing. So, yeah. There you go. She was alive, and foul play. Anyway, Joe Lamasman says on FNF, I will request these songs which would fit in your new show. Mac the Knife, Family Snapshot by Peter Gabriel, Delilah, and Psycho Killer. You know what? Those all sound perfect. I don't have the license fee, but yes. Got to show that. Yeah. All right, so this next story will conclude our Nailsin News segment. These things happen. But there's all kinds of careers out there, some of which even I considered. For a brief moment, I thought, hey, I wonder if I could make it as a photographer. I didn't. But this guy did. He even won awards. So, cool, huh? But then he had another hobby. Emmy-winning photographer, editor, allegedly recorded people in dressing rooms. He looks really shocked about this, even more so than anyone else, as per his mugshot. Anyway, a photographer and editor at a news station has been arrested after an investigation found he allegedly placed cameras in dressing rooms to spy on people as they undressed. Janitorial staff contacted the authorities on March 24th when they found 2 cameras in dressing rooms at the KWTV news station. Police reviewed the footage found on the SD cards inside the cameras and determined that the cameras were moved or repositioned, and whoever had done so had accessed them several times. According to the Oklahoman, an investigator wrote, the cameras and battery packs had been found mounted to adhesive Velcro strips underneath clothing racks within the room. A review of the extracted video footage confirmed the cameras had been active and had recorded multiple subjects who used the dressing room areas in private settings. An investigation determined Daryl Lee Vanistran, 40, was the suspect, based on the timestamps on the footage. Vanistran allegedly came into the station when he was not scheduled to be there, and those times lined up with the timestamps. Vanistran worked at the station as the supervisor of the photography and videography department. He won several Heartland TV Emmy Awards in 2025 as photographer and editor. When law enforcement spoke to him on April 2nd, he allegedly acknowledged he knew about the cameras. After he retained an attorney, police seized his phones and 3 USB drives. Images on his devices showed people undressing in the dressing rooms. It has not been made clear whether the cameras were used to record station guests or staff. Probably both, huh? I don't know. But why dressing rooms? I mean, I don't know. The people, probably mostly staff, they show up in relaxed clothes, but they got to dress up for being on camera. I don't know, whatever. WFMD reports Vanistran was arrested for the use of photo or video equipment in a clandestine manner in a private place at his home on April 21st. He remains in custody on $25,000 bond. He has not yet been formally charged. The New York Post reports Vanistran is no longer employed by the station, but it is unclear if he was fired or if he quit. Maybe it was like, you can't fire me, I quit. But That face. Who would have suspected this guy, you know? Hey, looks like we got a peeping Tom at work here. I wonder who it could be. Oh, yeah. It's like that's the look he'd give you if he was looking through your window as you got dressed. Now, it is curious that they said he was filming people. Now, you know, it's this guy, he's some pervert. You think he's videoing the hot chicks who the hot anchor ladies who do the news and stuff while she's changing. But it might have been the dudes. I don't know. It remains a mystery in the case of Vanastrand, the Peeper Creeper. Well, all right, that's it for Nailsin News and that. See, I tried to, end on it. See, no one got killed. It's just someone were seen in their drawers, possibly even nude. But other than that, so Joe Lamont says, wow, what a pic. Yeah, I know. It's a good mugshot, That's one of those you'll remember. And it's the best one tonight. So, you got that going on. So, all right, MCU crap. Resident Evil trailer. I won't play it because I never know what the rules are, but I did see it. And then Godzilla. How about that? Won't that be fun? I don't know. But it's what I got. I don't know what else to do. All right. Oh, you got to show them the damn article, stupid. Did I put it way up here? I don't think I did. God damn it all looks alike sometimes, especially when you're, going blind and all that. Avengers Doomsday rumor may reveal bonkers, giggle tee hee, alternate origins for Robert Downey Jr.'s Dr. Doom. So this could be possible spoilers. Yeah. Well, we still don't know much about how Dr. Doom, played by Robert Downey Jr., will be introduced or the villain's motivations in Avengers Doomsday. But several different sources have reported on the same details of the character's backstory. Apparently, Steve Rogers, played by Chris Evans' decision to remain in Peggy Carter's timeline at the end of Avengers Endgame caused a multiversal incursion that resulted in the deaths of Victor Von Doom's wife and child. Excuse me a minute. Sorry. This leads to Doom seeking revenge on the former Captain America at the beginning of Doomsday. Now, this may be teased in Endgame's re-release. Yeah, they're going to re-release Endgame, but with extra footage, so it'll all make sense. Yeah, but they had all these other movies. Yeah, forget about them. They were crap anyway. It sounds like a relatively simple and effective explanation for why Doom would target Rogers and his fellow heroes. But if a new rumor is to be believed, Marvel Studios had a few alternate scenarios in mind before the story fully came together, some of which were pretty out there. Doomsday didn't Doom's origin story isn't all it what the hell always involve him didn't always involve him having a family. Man, they can't write. Other versions include his parents dying, one where he believed he was the reincarnation of Tony Stark and that he belonged in the MCU. And one of the most insane ideas, now that one's pretty stupid, had him working for Mephisto, who was the real bad guy. Another version had him obsessed with either Pepper Potts or Sue Storm. Well, the Mephisto thing, that's not that crazy. I mean, in the comics, Mephisto holds the soul of his dead mother. and she gets tortured because he's basically the devil, and that's hell. She sold her soul to him for powers and crap. So Doom keeps wanting to find ways to get her out of there. And so you could have worked that into the scenario. Now, they introduced Mephisto after teasing him all the time in so many other shows, only to reveal him in Ironheart, a crappy DP show that nobody watched. The scrap Tony Stark reincarnation origin is arguably the most intriguing. Not really, it's really stupid, since it would seem to indicate that the studio was considering introducing a more direct connection between Iron Man and Doom. Yeah, they probably considered that for a second, because remember, the original plan was going to be all about Kang. And everything's failing. That failed, and they got desperate. And, okay, Robert, how much money? You know, and they said, you know what? We're going to make you Dr. Doom. Wouldn't that be fun? And so there you go. But anyway, from what we've been told, Doom today will not address the reason both characters look so similar. Oh, my God. And Downey will only be seen without his mask once or twice, with no other characters around. It's entirely possible that some of the potential plot points mentioned above could still find their way into the movie or future MCU projects. Yeah. Well, boy, does that sound stupid. Significant delays last year. Didn't arrive. Yeah, whatever. Both movies will be directed by the Russo brothers, who did do the best of the Marvel movies. Primarily Winter Soldier. That was their best. Being able to create stories and explore characters within the Marvel Universe fulfilled a lifelong dream of ours, and we discovered a powerful connection with audience in each film that we made. We're thrilled to collaborate once again with Kevin, Lou, and the entire Marvel team. Well, not so much, because they fired a bunch of them, to bring this epic adventure and storytelling to new and surprising places for both the fans and ourselves, said the Russos. So anyway, it's going to star all these people too, and it'll be released in December. Not explaining why he looks like Tony Stark is ridiculous. Now, there again, within the comic book lore, there is a way they could do this. See, Dr. Doom learned of a technique where he can switch bodies with people. He did it with Reed Richards. And then he did it with some bystander because he was trapped and had to get out of his body before he was killed. And so at that time, his body was completely destroyed, but he lived on in this other guy's body because he switched places with him, and that guy died in Dr. Doom's body. And then the Beyonder restored him and all that. But whatever. Anyway, it's an ability that he has. So here, you could come up with some reason that he took over some multiverse variant of Tony Stark, because the MCU Tony Stark is dead, but he took over this other Tony Stark. And that's why he looks like him. What happened to his real body? I don't know. You could weave that in as well. But anyway, that is the deal. But to not even address it, to go through the trouble of, it's just, hey, look, it's Robert Downey Jr. again. Huh? So, yeah, not too crazy about all that. I think that's kind of stupid. What the hell? Did it just... Wait a minute. Was it up there? Yeah, it is. It's not supposed to do it like that. What the hell? No, it's there. Whatever, I don't know. It's messing with me. And now I'm embarrassed. No, like nobody would ever be obsessed with Pepper Potts. Well, in her day, you know, now. So, I mean, he's a Fantastic Four villain, so they'll probably make it about Sue Storm. But see, the problem with this is they want to recapture the glory days of Infinity War and Endgame. But those movies had a lot of build-up from successful films leading into it. They haven't done that this time. I mean, they were trying to lead into it with the Kang thing, but that all collapsed into ruin. Here, there's no setup for it at all, other than, hey, look, we're going to have X-Men in there. We're going to have, well, our new Fantastic Four, yeah. We're going to have all the Spider-Men in there. Cool, huh? And we're bringing back Thor and Captain America. You don't want to miss this. And that's it. And I don't know, for the movie unto itself, it might work. Enough people come and watch it. But is that enough to reignite excitement for the MCU in its glory days? I don't think so. I think the Spider-Man movie will probably do all right. And unlike DC, they don't have that advantage. You know, DC can just default to their Batman movies. Well, Disney can't default to Spider-Man movies because they don't control that. They have to share it with Sony. So they're going to try to reignite the X-Men with, you know, a new cast and all that. If that works, then they at least have that. But they did terrible damage to the brand. And it's tough. Now, I think its chances are better than Star Wars, but not by much. Oh, this story about the confirms big changes. I don't know. I talked about this before. I guess they're saying it's different now. Anyway, Spider-Man brand new day. Jeez. God. Boy, the voice is really going. Spider-Man brand new day promo art / toys versus trailer confirms big change to the Scorpion's costume. Okay. With only a few months until Spider-Man brand new day hits theaters, we still don't know who the movie's primary antagonist is. Well, it's probably the Scorpion. I don't know. Hammerhead seems to be the most popular suggestion. But with the Department of Damage Control, Sadie Sink's mystery character, and even a Savage Hulk in the mix, we're very much in the dark. Well, it's pretty cluttered, which could be a problem. But, you have to see. Michael Mando's Scorpion is another contender, especially as we know Mac Gargan is eager for revenge after the events of 2017's Spider-Man Homecoming. In that movie, he was badly injured by the wall crawler and appeared in a post-credit scene attempting to intimidate Adrian Toomes into revealing Spidey's secret identity. Early promo art for Spider-Man Brand New Day showed an unmasked Scorpion with a scaffolding-like tail. That design didn't go well with many fans. But it's a piece of imagery that's recently resurfaced, both on T-shirts and an upcoming action figure. However, a closer look at the trailer confirms that the Scorpion's tail is more in line with his comic book counterparts. But it's not all good news. The full suit mask combination doesn't really resemble what we'll see in the movie, especially as parts of Gargan's clothing beneath his exoskeleton are on full display in the trailer. Going by that alone, we can't discount the possibility that the Scorpion will never don a helmet or mask. For some fans, that's a deal breaker. It also begs the question of why Gargan would want to protect his face. Oh yeah, there's always a chance that he has two costumes, and that the one shown in the trailer is an upgraded design that will prove a bigger challenge for the web spinner. He may even go full Scorpion by donning head-to-toe armor. Ultimately, with no way of knowing how big the villain's role will be in Spider-Man Brand New Day, he'll likely do more than show up in the montage with Tarantula and Boomerang. We can only speculate. Well, yeah. Regardless, for those of you who hate the see-through hydraulic tail that's still showing up in merchandise, you can rest assured that it's one of those early concepts that made it to the toy stage, but not into the movie's final cut. Take a closer look at Spider-Man's Brand New Days, conflicting Scorpion designs, and the X-posts below. I guess you can kind of see him there, but I'm not going to bother. There's the toy. That's the one I usually see, and some of the concept art had the suit with that type of tail. Well, but then here he is from the trailer, and you can see it's all these segments. So either they redesign it, he does change it within the narrative of the movie, or they went in and changed it after all, thinking, oh, I don't think the original design works well, what have you, and they'll do that. But then what about the toy people? And we're trying to sell this crap, and you went and changed it. Now it's not going to sell. So they got to change it themselves? Or maybe there's another version. Now you can get both. If both are in the movie, then that works, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, following the record-breaking success of Spider-Man No Way Home, Spider-Man Brand New Day begins a brand new chapter for Peter Parker and Spider-Man, because they're the same guy. 4 years have passed since the events of No Way Home, and Peter is now an adult and living alone after erasing himself and the memories of him from those he loves. Well, yeah, they don't know him, and they don't know he's Spider-Man. But he's still there, you know. Whatever, that's the setup. All these people will be in it, and these people worked on it. So you're all caught up. So I don't know, what tail will the Scorpion have? One or the other, maybe both. And, wow, that's really something. Well, speaking of Spider-Man, there's another Spider-Man project on the way on Amazon from Sony. Usually those are terrible, but this one is at least interesting. Maybe it's got something going on. I don't know. I really don't. But, well. Sony Spider-Verse just revealed its Gwen Stacy replacement. Or did it? The Spider-Verse just confirmed a replacement for Gwen Stacy in its next series. Following the success of the animated films Into the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse, Sony is expanding this world with an experimental new live-action series starring Nicolas Cage as his Spider-Verse character, Spider-Man Noir. The new series, Spider-Noir, takes place in an alternate universe where Ben Reilly serves as New York City's friendly neighborhood Spider-Man and private investigator during the Depression era. The Spider-Noir series has already introduced several changes to classic characters in this alternate universe, including variations on Tombstone and Black Cat. But when it comes down to it, Spider-Man Noir / Ben Reilly is an alternate version of the same character, and his story follows many similar patterns to Peter Parker's. This includes a Gwen Stacy-like character in Riley's life, who was revealed in the Prime Video show's latest trailer. The newest trailer for Spider-Noir confirms that Riley once loved a woman named Ruby, who seemingly drowned in a car accident after he failed to save her. Ruby's death is something that has haunted Riley, with his friend Robbie Robertson, Lamorne Morris, reminding him, "You've been an asshole ever since Ruby died." Oh, geez, that's harsh, isn't it? So I guess, there's Ruby, can't really make her out, and Spider-Noir is trying to save her, but I don't know, he couldn't. Anyway, the footage that accompanies this line shows a woman trapped in a sinking car with Riley in his suit as the Spider, reaching out to save her. But I don't know, it didn't work. Later in the trailer, Riley is shown placing a ring atop a gravestone, presumably Ruby's. While it's still unclear who Ruby is to Ben, this all suggests that the two were romantically involved, possibly even engaged or married. Gwen Stacy is a character who plays a very similar role in Peter Parker's lore as Ruby seems to in Ben Reilly. Gwen is known as one of Peter's early love interest, who is eventually murdered by the Green Goblin in the comics, which is an event that devastates Spider-Man after he is unable to save her. This arc famously came to life on screen in 2014's The Amazing Spider-Man #2, where Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man failed to save Emma Stone's Gwen Stacy from a lethal fall. He later had his redemption in Spider-Man No Way Home. Yeah, he was pretty upset about it. Gwen has also played a pivotal role in the Spider-Verse franchise, becoming Spider-Gwen, voiced by Haley Stanfield,
in her universe, and helping Miles Morales and the other Spider people to save the multiverse. Miles and Gwen share an unrequited love in the franchise, with Miles struggling to confess his feelings for Gwen, and Gwen struggling to reciprocate because of her trauma over Peter Parker's death in her universe. Say that she got the spider bite, and anyway. I guess that means the Green Goblin killed Peter in her world. I don't know. The rules of the Spider-Verse dictate that there are canon events in each of the Spider-Person's stories, such as the death of an Uncle Ben figure in each of their lives. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse confirmed that Gwen and Spider-Man's relationship is a canon event. In every other universe, Gwen Stacy falls for Spider-Man. And in every other universe, it doesn't end well. Well, yeah, but in her universe, she didn't fall for Spider-Man. She just fell for Peter Parker. He didn't become Spider-Man too, did he? Is that what they... I thought she got the spider power instead of him. Whatever, you know, Gwen warns Miles in the movie. It seems like Ruby's death could be considered Spider Noir's version of a Gwen Stacy canon event. Yeah, it's all green in the water. I mean, it's probably just nasty water. But could there be an alternate version of Green Goblin killing Ruby? I don't know. Maybe. Anyway, so far there's been no confirmed casting of a Gwen Stacy or MJ equivalent in Spider Noir, which are Spider-Man's two most common love interests. But seeing as Spider Noir is bringing its own spin to many Spider-Man characters and story tropes, the character of Ruby could very easily be this universe's version of Gwen Stacy. And they're probably thinking, yeah, that's what we're doing. Anyway, these people are in it. These people directed it. All that sort of stuff. And there's Spider Noir upset about Ruby, you know. Ben Reilly's Gwen Stacy canon event will seemingly already have happened when Spider Noir begins, with the superhero still dealing with the grief and trauma of this loss. However, this doesn't mean Spider Noir will have a love interest for Riley. Yeah, it does. Oh, you mean doesn't have one, right? That doesn't mean won't have. Right. Yeah, he's going to hook up with Black Cat. Trailers have hinted at a spark forming between Riley and Lee Jun Lee's Felicia Hardy. She's still going to have the name Felicia. As Black Cat in the Spider Noir universe, Felicia is a femme fatale style nightclub singer who has ties to the underworld conspiracy that Riley is investigating. In the comics, Spider-Man has been known to have a relationship with Black Cat, which is typically an on-again, off-again affair, given the two's hero/anti-hero contrast. Spider-Man and Black Cat's relationship hasn't been fully explored on screen in any of the theatrical Spider-Man movies, although it was once planned for Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 4. Now fans will finally get to experience the dynamic between the pair in Spider Noir. Yeah, there was Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 4, but they were also going to bring her into Andrew Garfield's if he had gotten a third Spider-Man. But yeah, it just never happened, so now you're going to get this alternate version of Black Cat in, Spider Noir. But oh, look, there's other stuff about, you guessed it, Spider Noir. Spider Noir's 6 villains get their own trailer. Black Cat, Sandman, and more. So, yeah, that's the deal. There she is. That's Black Cat. Now, you got your option. You can watch the show in black and white because it's noir setting and all that. Or you can watch it in color. It's up to you. So this is the Sandman. Yeah, he didn't forget to shave. It looks like he's turning into sand there. We've got Silvermane, and he's got some gray in his hair. So there you go. He meets the description, although he's a lot fatter than Silvermane usually is. Now there's Megawatt. Now, the article says people thought he was Electro, and I've seen the concept art, and he's in a green and yellow outfit. Basically, his shirt is yellow, his pants are green. And thought, yeah, that's their version of Electro. But I guess for some reason, maybe it's a rights thing, they didn't go with Electro. They're going with this guy named Megawatt. So it's based on a brief character who's basically another Electro. That's all there is to it. But he's Dirk Layden, better known as Megawatt. Well, not so better known. First appeared in 1993's Spider-Man Unlimited #2, showing off electric-based powers similar to Max Steel and Electro. So he kind of came and went. Didn't really matter. So he's probably going to be really Electro in everything but name. Because I think Dirk Layden was a struggling actor who, I think he's like a supervillain for a minute, then cleans up his act and goes back to being in movies or something like that. So I don't know if he's gonna have anything to do. I mean, he's a big fat dude. I don't know if he's got anything to do with Hollywood or whatever. But anyway, Tombstone, they're gonna race swap. I don't know. He's got scars on his face, but he's supposed to have this weird flat head. I don't know if they're doing that with him. And then you got this guy who bursts into flames, but I think he's an original character that they're making. So there's any number of characters they could have used from Marvel's villains, but I guess they're just going to make one. And I don't know. There's some rights issue. They can't use Electro. I guess. I don't know. But anyway, there you go. All the extra details of Spider Noir. And they, for whatever reason, they can't call him Spider-Man Noir. So they got to change the title to Spider Noir. And then call him the Spider in the story. So this was the one way that Sony could produce a live-action adventure with an actual Spider-Man character. All their Spider-Man movies couldn't feature Spider-Man at all because they're dealing with Disney. So at least this one, kind of, sort of, has a Spider-Man in it. Plus the aesthetics and everything is cool and everything. So I don't know. I'm intrigued by it. Hopefully it's good. But for the most part, the Sony projects have been terrible. And the first Venom movie was kind of just an accident. And everything since then has been crap. So good luck with Spider Noir. Yes. Let's see. Nodex says, as long as the Paul Giamatti's version of Rhino shows up, I'll be happy. I don't think so. I don't think he's going to show up. I think, didn't one of the, not Morbius, but the Kraven the Hunter, it wasn't, I think there was a Rhino in that one. I don't know if he was in the suit, or if they just had a Rhino that talked. I don't know. I don't think they'll ever acknowledge any of that again. Other than Venom, maybe. But, yeah, I don't know. I think it's just... maybe they would have him for Secret Wars, and there's rumors they might split Secret Wars into 2 movies. So that gives them more time to showcase other past characters when they do that. So maybe he could show up in that. I don't know if he'd still be in the Transformers robot contraption he was in, but maybe. 2 more stories. Well, that's it for the superheroes. Well, there was a DC one, but it's more of the same stuff I've already talked about in another video, so I passed on that one. So, hey, what about horror movies? Well, we've got another Resident Evil movie. Now, Resident Evil pretty much has all been pretty bad. I've never played the video game. It's very popular. But the Mila Jovovich movies, I watched all of those. That was like a guilty pleasure because for the most part, they're pretty stupid. Now, the last movie was the worst of the batch. A couple of them, they had stuff going for them. But the main thing, the main plus of those movies was Mila Jovovich, yes. Running around in her cat suits and stuff.
was awesome. So, of course, I had to watch that all the way through. They have had attempts at reboots. I think Netflix had a TV series or something. They all sounded horrible. And they were race swapping and all that sort of stuff. So, so they're going to try again. But this time, they got Zach Cregers, who has done these brilliant horror movies, Barbarian and Weapons. And this will really, there's horror elements throughout Resident Evil, zombies and monsters and all that. But it was more of an action movie franchise, in that regard. Here, it's full on horror. And it looks to be sort of an isolated tale within the world of Resident Evil, rather than I don't know if you wanted to continue in this vein of say a trilogy out of this. I suppose it could, but maybe it's just a one and done thing. I don't know. I don't see. Maybe there's more elements taken from the games in this through this character that you're going to view it through, and maybe that's how they'll link it up to it. But very, very different from previous outings. So had the trailer. I don't play trailers because I never know what the rules are. Some people get absolutely struck for them. Other people, get claims and stuff. Other people, nothing happens to them at all. So, I don't know. So, a test screening for the movie was recently held, and while the feedback via World of Real was positive, Cregger's take is said to have practically nothing to do with the games, aside from a few Easter eggs and some recognizable monsters. I don't think my telling a story that's not about Leon is a violation of the Resident Evil world, because the games do that all the time, Cregger tells Screen Rant. Leon's not in 7 or 8, so they're allowed to jump around. So I figure I am honoring the games. I'm just going to tell another story that feels like playing a game in the world of the game. But I'm not stepping on the toes of any of Leon's storyline. So that's the deal. That's what he's doing. So it's this guy, and in the trailer, he seems like he got lost. It's winter weather and whatnot, and I don't know if he had car trouble or what have you. And he comes upon what looks to be like a farmhouse or something, and he's asking for help. There seems to be nobody there. He gets to a phone. He's trying to call for help. And, the events of Raccoon City and Resident Evil appears to have already happened, and he's unaware of it. And all kinds of hell breaks loose, and it's this guy trying to figure out how to survive all this. So you do get glimpses of zombies and mutant creatures, I think, and it plays out that way. And it's Zach Cregger. Weapons and Barbarian were both brilliant movies, and this just becomes a Zach Cregger a horror movie, and it might just work for that alone. As for Resident Evil unto itself, probably not so much. And I don't know if this thing becomes a smash hit, they're going to want more. So then your Resident Evil, it won't deal with Resident Evil story so much, So I don't know. I don't know if you have this guy, does he survive in the end? So there's a Resident Evil 2, and then he does meet Leon, or what's her name, Valentine, and all that. Maybe. But anyway, it looks cool. It's, creepy and all that. The stylings of Cregger's films, and based on how he lays out a narrative, there's probably some twist to it as well. So I'm intrigued by it, but it's just not what I would have expected. And I don't know, the other attempts seem to have, although like I said, Mila Jovovich movies made money. They did 6 of those. So there's that. I guess you can't return to that. This is hey, let's try this take. So it's certainly interesting, but I don't know. And I don't know, is Krager interested in handling a franchise like this and would do 2 more movies? I mean, depending on the zeros on the check, maybe. And I mean, maybe each movie would be a different character. And then somebody else, they want to have Resident Evil cinematic universe, and then somebody else will do the more action-oriented movie with the standard classic characters from the video game and that sort of thing. Maybe that's what they'll do. I don't know. But if this is the smash hit, then it's like, well, we want to keep to that formula, don't we? I don't know. But it's intriguing. It's interesting. So, I got to give them that. And I just did. Yeah. All right. Final story. More monsters. More monsters than you can possibly stand. No, next says, in Craven, the rhino had some disease that made his skin gray and hard. So he was just some gray guy walking around? Did he have a horn coming out of his head? That's just really lazy and stupid. I mean, didn't they rewrite Craven the Hunter where he was a guy who was like an animal rights activist, which is just the polar opposite of Craven the Hunter? He's a hunter. He hunts big game, and then he becomes obsessed with hunting Spider-Man, But he's hunted all the most deadliest animals out there. And, we can't do a movie about that. Yeah, you could. Morbius just should have been a vampire movie. A little different with the weird sci-fi elements to how he becomes one, but, and they couldn't even get that right. And then Madam Web, I don't know, at least show us more imagery of Sydney Sweeney in a form-fitting, skin-tight Spider-Girl outfit, But no, you only get a second. They're stupid. So very stupid. Oh, well. Meanwhile, there's Godzilla and King Kong, Beyond the Monsterverse, Toho's Chief Godzilla Officer teases a multiversal blueprint for Godzilla World. Everywhere you go, there's a multiverse. But I guess that's the idea anyway. Toho is no longer playing defense. In a post-1 landscape where the king of the monsters has regained his critical and commercial crown, the studio is moving beyond cautious reports and into a full-scale offensive. After a year of rumors and slow drip updates, Toho is finally pulling back the curtain on its long-term strategy, a sprawling expansion designed to turn its premier IP into a permanent global fixture. While Godzilla has maintained a dual presence through Toho's Reiwa era and Legendary's Monsterverse, the Japanese studio sees a golden opportunity to push past traditional borders. They aren't just joining the cinematic universe arms race, they're attempting to redefine it. The strategy, internally dubbed Godzilla World, differentiates itself by pivoting away from a single rigid timeline. Instead, Toho is eyeing a multiversal approach, one that allows for multiple continuities, experimental spin-offs, and varied tones to exist simultaneously. This flexible framework provides the necessary ground for long gestating rumors, such as a potential return to the world of Shin Godzilla, to finally manifest as concrete projects rather than mere fan speculation. Rain, poop, rain. Anyway, Kaiji Ota, Toho's chief Godzilla officer, made the company's ambitions clear. They intend to rival the scale of the MonsterVerse while maintaining creative sovereignty. In addition to the Godzilla films directed at people like Hideki Anno and Takashi Yamazaki, if Toho creates the original concepts ourselves, we'll be able to strategically roll out spin-offs as well, Oda explained. Just like Legendary has its MonsterVerse, we're advancing plans to create what we're calling Godzilla World. Interestingly, Toho's roadmap isn't born of rivalry alone, but a genuine appreciation for how Western creators have handled the Big G. Oda expressed high praise for the stewards of the MonsterVerse, noting that the current crop of Hollywood directors consists of the same children who grew up in all of the Showa and Heisei eras. Gareth Edwards and Michael Daugherty are people who know what Godzilla is all about on a visceral level. That's why we can trust them to handle the projects. While the Godzilla World moniker sets the stage for the next decade, the immediate future is already packed with heavy hitters. The momentum continues this November with the release of Godzilla Minus Zero, followed by the high-stakes clash of Godzilla X Kong Supernova next year. If Toho's trajectory holds, these entries aren't just sequels. They are the foundation of a multiversal new empire, a more definable one that is only beginning to rise. So basically, they're going to do some other spinoffs on their own. That's it. It doesn't really need much explanation than that. And that would be the deal. Oh, geez, why am I showing all that? So it's obvious that Godzilla Minus One wasn't a part of the MonsterVerse storyline. So I just like, hey, how do you explain that? Well, it's another universe of Godzilla. There you go. So if Toho wants to also produce, out of home base Godzilla films, well, they can. What angle do they want to take, or they want to make them more like they were in the classic days and stuff? Yeah, I guess. So it just depends on who wants to see it and how many and what your little Godzilla toys and stuff sell. Well, then you really got something. See, it's probably going to matter, I would think. Nodak answers my question. Well, he had some insulin tube on his side, and he looked normal when it was connected to him. When he unplugged it, he'd change. He got huge, muscular, horn, dumb. That sounds terrible, but I shouldn't be too surprised, I suppose. It's just the plan of doing Spider-Man movies with no Spider-Man. It just doesn't work. Yeah? Okay, Venom worked. With Batman, no Batman movies without Batman work. They don't. Joker, okay, the first one worked. Yeah. The Penguin show worked, so there's that. Huh. Okay, sometimes it kind of does. But it's rare. Now they're going to do this Clayface movie with no Batman, but they're just going to present it as a horror movie of this guy who turns into a monster. It might work. I mean, it's got to do better than Morbius. But is that really saying anything? I mean, it's saying it. But that's it. Oh, well. Well, the voice is shot, and I got to go rest it because I got to tape a couple of more things. Damn it. And that's it. I was going to draw, but now I'm all beaten down and defeated by news and stupid articles about Spider-Man and stuff. the hell am I even doing with myself? I don't know. Anyway, thanks for watching. Let me make sure that, no super tips. Oh, well, I tried, I did. Anyway, there we go. That's whatever this is. Well, it's the Doug Nailsin Show. There you go. You watched another fantastic episode of the Doug Nailsin Show. And you got the whole deal. The whole deal. And, well, hope you got something out of it. Anyway, have a good rest of your night or morning or what have you. And we'll visit again sometime in the future. Yeah.
Hollywood could really wish they would. There's no debating it. All that's left is the Nailsin reign. The first feast from the corpse of the beast. Only after the feel of the vulture. Pop goes the culture. Pop goes the culture. Myths and legends, grants and escape to heaven. A darker, taller tale is a tour of hell. Pop goes the culture. Pop goes the culture. Pop goes the culture.
Time now for commentary from Trixie Turner. Trixie.
Doug, studies show that most people avoid studying and opt to just make crap up.
Time now for commentary from Trixie Turner. Trixie.
Doug, studies show that most people avoid studying and opt to just make crap up.
Time now for commentary from Trixie Turner. Trixie.
Doug, studies show that most people avoid studying